Evening, everybody. We'll start right on time at 6 o'clock. Appreciate you coming out tonight. I'm Gary Keith, Chair of the School Building Committee, and welcome to our fourth public information session since we've been starting the project. As we always do, I just want to do a quick rundown of the roster visually. I'm obviously not going to name all the names. So we have 26 voting members on the committee. It's a big committee, we know that. Same methodology we used for this building right here that we're in right now. And we have a wide range of town officials, school staff, parents, and other technical designations. We follow the format of the Massachusetts School Building Authority in establishing committee. The school superintendent, Mark Bodwell, is the appointing authority, and then it's affirmed by the Massachusetts School Building Authority. They're the ones that say yay or nay to the roster representation. And we were formed in June of 2023, so coming up on almost 2.5 years now of working on this project. So this is the headline slide for tonight, if you will. You'll recall that if those of you who were part of our last information session, we had just at the point of looking at finalizing the grade configuration, kindergarten through 6th grade, located at the Roselle McDonald site, designed to serve a projected design enrollment of 1,075 students. That is not the population on day one. That's a projected population over at least 10 or more years, and that figure is certified by the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So it's not a number we just pull out of the air. They work with us very closely. They have a committee that worked with us at the beginning of this project to certify that enrollment. We look at the population increase in the town over the at least last 10 years and projections for the future. We look at developments that have occurred in the town, and that's how that number is determined. The new information is the total project budget of $169,640,380. When we first started this project, we were closer to $200 million in our projection. I think the first time we did an information session here, our early projection number was $177 million. We'll go over some information tonight of how we've been able to whittle that down. I'll use that term loosely, if you will, but at least we've been able to reduce that from where we were in the early projections. And so based on multiple votes of the committee, we have submitted this to the MSBA, the state funding agency. We do that as a two-step process. So that figure that you see there is a not-to-exceed number. So that is the number that is our not-to-exceed budget number. We could have taken a not-to-exceed number very early in the project. We could have picked 200 million and say we're not going to exceed 200 million, and then we would have had to fine-tune an actual budget number. We decided to hold that not-to-exceed vote until the end of our schematic design phase and come up with the actual budget number as our not-to-exceed number. And that the only project scope that they will assist us with the funding is the project that you're going to see tonight that we're going to go over. One of the issues I want to address right up front, and it's come up at least the last 2 or 3 information sessions, is why the project is not at the Howard School property. There's been a lot of discussion about that. I think most on the school building committee, myself included, when we started this project, remember the Massachusetts School Building Authority tasked us to look at the consolidation, if we could, of all 3 schools, Spring Street, Roselle, and Howard. And I think most of us thought that Howard was going to be the logical place. And we did many meetings and many rounds of discussion about all 3 sites. Spring Street was eliminated very quickly, as you can understand, small, a lot of issues with that site, just not feasible. We then focused on Howard, and this first bullet point is really the big one for us. And maybe we should have realized this up front, but it came out very quickly. Because most of you are probably aware that that site includes the septic treatment for all the municipal buildings in the center of town area. So fire and police, library, senior center, this building, Spring Street, Howard, library, all that feeds into that. So if you take the population of Howard and you bring, Roselle, and you bring that down to the Howard site and try to build a facility that will handle the entire population, we tip the scale over that existing septic system into a wastewater treatment level facility that would be necessary. And so never mind the 4 million, that's a secondary figure. The issue is the site cannot handle, size-wise, handle building a wastewater treatment facility on that site. So to go beyond Howard to look at a solution for wastewater treatment in terms of pumping it somewhere else or dealing with it remotely is outside the scope of this project, certainly outside the scope of the school building committee, outside of the funding project we have with the MSBA. So that forced us pretty quickly to look at having to go to Roselle because of that issue. Beyond that, though, there were some other issues that came up in our study. If you try to put the size of building that we're talking about needing to house 1,075 students in all these grade levels, it would be a very crowded site. We would have eliminated both the existing sports fields on the site. Having to put that building between those structures, it didn't fit very well. We got some pretty significant feedback relative to the effect on the senior center from Council on Aging. And if you look at the aesthetics of, a 3-story building there and how that would fit into this structure, I know there are some that would say, well, the old Howard School from years ago with its Gothic 4-story building, that was there for many years. True, but that was the only building sitting there. And I think it would be, not the best design and not the best use of that facility. Big issue would be traffic. Yes, we're going to have traffic at North Elm Street with the Roselle site, and we'll talk about that more tonight. But the traffic out there now that we're dealing with, if you go through there in the morning or the afternoon, it would only compound that worse, both on Howard Street and the effect on 28 and 106. So we had 2 major rounds of discussion with the school building committee before we really finalized the fact that we were going to have to look at Roselle as the site. We're going to do some tag team here between myself, James Liebman from HMFH, our architect on the design team, Mark Bodwell, the superintendent, and Sean Burke from PMA, the owner's project manager representative. James?
Thanks. Hi. I'm going to start by talking about some project goals. These are goals set by the school building committee. And they're sort of big picture goals for what this project can be and should be. First, and they're in a couple of categories. The first category is process and community support. It was very important to the committee, and we've really strived to create a open process that can garner public support and buy-in, and most importantly, that the public feels like they have an opportunity to know the facts about the project and form opinions based on those facts. Looking for a dependable solution, one that can, again, gain public support, but also serve the needs of the community and the district. Provide community spaces both inside and out, and I'm going to talk more about that in this presentation. And then sufficient community gym space, and this was a goal specifically for the YAA. And then, like every project, a major goal is for it to be on time and on budget, or under budget. As Mark pointed out, we have set the budget based on the sort of cap of the budget based on the actual budget for the project as designed. And on time is important because time equals dollars. The longer the project waits to start construction, the more expensive it'll be. Second set of goals is that it's a building for this community, a place where students and staff and community members all feel proud of the education that happens there and the asset that they have built together. A building that feels safe and is safe. Critical to student well-being is that feeling of safety. An energy efficient building that's easy to maintain, easy to operate, robust materials, a building that's going to last a long time and not be incredibly expensive to run. A building that can be built on the site that it's on, then that the logistics work and has sufficient parking to serve the building and the community. And an economical building in space and material. And we've worked diligently with the district to help the district define what programs are needed, what spaces are needed, and to really refine that down. And that's one of the ways that the budget has come down over the course of the design process. The third category is about education, a building that meets the educational needs both today and into the future. This is a building that needs to last for a very long time, and an investment that needs to last for a very long time. A building that serves students of all abilities, a sustainable building to serve students for generations, as I'm talking about. A building that is adaptable for future needs, and that's critical to this idea of a building that'll last. A place where students feel supported and have a sense of belonging. Adaptable and flexible spaces so that as education changes, the spaces can still work to serve the student and teaching needs. Maintain a small school feel and culture. Now, this is an interesting one for this project, because this is a project for over 1,000 students, or a design enrollment of over 1,000 students. And you'll see how we've designed the project to address this idea of maintaining smaller learning communities within the larger school. And then a project that addresses most of the district needs. The district has built this building for their 7th to 12th graders, so they've got about half of their population served in a building that meets their educational needs. So how many more can they solve with this project? And the idea was, as much as we can, let's not leave future projects on the table. So here you see the site plan. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you're looking at here. I'll just stay here. So all the way to the right, forget that. All the way to the right, you see North Elm Street running up and down with Stepping Stone Drive coming in horizontally across the page. That Stepping Stone Drive has been widened and straightened to make it safer, both straightened so that there's not the big S-curve and emergency vehicles can get in fairly easily, and wider so that there's room for cars to pull over and queue up, parents to queue up, and still let buses and emergency vehicles get by, so that the queuing does not stop traffic, essentially. You can see the large parking on the east side of the building. That serves about 120 cars. There's also 15 spots out back, so there's 135 cars in total. And then the building itself in white. One of the big ideas about straightening out Stepping Stone Drive, as well as making it safe, is that it really will serve to welcome people in. As people are driving in, they'll see the building in front of them as opposed to it being around a bunch of curves. And the building will welcome them into it. It'll be clear where the entry is, and clear where you're supposed to go as you enter the site. We've also reduced the developed area within the 50-foot wetland buffer. So what I mean by that is there is less impervious pavement within that 50-foot buffer in this plan than there is existing today. One of the key things we've done is we've separated the parent drop-off and pickup from the bus drop-off and pickup. So the buses will come around on the east side of the building to the right and drop off at that large orange dot. And the parents will circle around the building on the loop road. This is also an emergency loop road for emergency responders, and enter on the west side of the building at a second entrance. That second entrance will be closed at times that aren't drop off and pick up, and all visitor entry will be at the orange dot on the east. We've also designed a number of site features, including play area on the east side of the building. This is going to be, fenced in. It's going to be very safe. But it also, by putting it on the east side, it'll be visible and manageable for people trying to watch their kids play and watch the students play. We also have a 60-foot buffer. You can see that in the large orange line. That's a tree buffer that we've worked hard to maintain between the properties at Goldie and any new development. Obviously, we're far from it for most of it. We do come very close to it. And where we basically touch that 60-foot buffer, we are planting new trees. And then there is significant stormwater retention planned in the new project. Right now, there's none. Any stormwater just is pushed directly back into the wetlands. There will be significant underground retention as part of this project. So the idea being to make the site significantly better than it is now, both in terms of this stormwater retention and in terms of the amount of impervious pavement within that 50-foot buffer. Now, we've heard a number of questions, and we're going to address a lot of them today. So won't the traffic be worse? So there's going to be a lot more students and a lot more parents and a lot more people on this site than there are today. And anytime you increase the population of a site, the traffic increases with it. But we have designed, starting with, we've done a traffic study and we've gotten recommendations from our traffic engineer for a number of things that we can add into this project and design into this project that will help to mitigate the increase in traffic. First of all, simply by locating the project at the Roselle McDonald site, that will help, as we've talked about, that will help with the traffic issues at the center of town. It removes those traffic impacts of a much larger school from the center of town and keeps those impacts off of the major routes. We've also, as a lot of this I've already talked about, we've straightened and widened Stepping Stone Drive to allow buses and emergency vehicles to be able to get by queuing parents. We've provided left and right turn lanes, from Stepping Stone Drive onto North Elm, greatly reducing the queue of cars back onto the site. We've separated the bus and parent drop-off, as I talked about, and we've provided ample queuing length for parents waiting to pick up or drop off their students. So here you see the floor plans of the building. It's a 3-story building, at least for a portion of it. The big idea is that there are shared spaces and entry in the middle of the building. So you see You see the sort of light yellow and green. Light yellow is cafeteria spaces and gym spaces and shared community spaces. The green is admin. The entrance comes right in at the side of admin and the medical suite. To the north side, stacked on those 3 floors, is the upper school, which serves the 4th through 6th grade. And to the south side, stacked on 2 floors, is the lower school, serving K through 3. This is the first floor, so you can see, I do need to be able to point at this point. You can see the main entrance right here on the east side, and I spoke about the parent drop-off entrance on the west side, which is here. That is into the upper school cafeteria. Again, right, upper school here, lower school down here. At this first floor, the lower school serves kindergarten to 1st grade. At the first floor, the upper school serves the 4th grade. These shared spaces, there's the upper school cafeteria, the lower school cafeteria, the medical suite, the music classroom. All of these will be important community spaces shared between the upper school and lower school, but in off hours also used by the community as a whole. Okay. At the second floor, again, upper school, here it's 5th grade, lower school is 2nd and 3rd grades, but the shared spaces, the key shared spaces are the gym here at the 2nd floor and the library with a large community space as part of it. There's also art classrooms and STEM classrooms, which would also be good community spaces. And then the 3rd floor is really part of that upper school academic wing and serves the 6th grade. At this point, I'll hold it. Okay. This is an image from the east. As you approach on Stepping Stone Drive, you can see the welcoming entry sort of on the right-hand side of the page. We're looking at primarily a masonry building using materials not dissimilar to the materials used on this building that we're in now. These are materials that are robust, long-lasting, fairly easy, easy to maintain, and will last the life of the building, and are economical materials. So, with that, Mark is going to speak to some of the key components of the ed planning.
Thank you, James. Thank you again for coming out tonight. One of the main goals for us is to build a building for our students' future needs and not our past. We have aging buildings built in the 1950s and 60s, and although our maintenance and custodial staff have done an outstanding job over the years, they're old. They're showing their age, and they're not educationally what our students need today for learning and our staff. So as we said before, we're looking to consolidate K to 6 school. One of the major benefits to this is we will have now just one transition from kindergarten to grade 12. So we're not transitioning from kindergarten to the Roselle, to the Howard, to the middle senior high school. So we're going to limit the transitions, which is great for our students that get a lot of community building within that school. We're also differentiating the learning opportunities for our students. We have different sized classrooms in the different buildings. We lack collaborative spaces. We lack extra spaces. We have technology in all of our classrooms, but they've been retrofitted for these older classrooms. So the learning experience will be much better for our students in a new learning facility. Right now, we have one specialist classroom at the elementary level. We've gained back an art room at the Roselle, but besides gym, all of our specialist classrooms are on carts and are going from room to room throughout the school. So this will allow for more deep learning, more project-based learning, and a classroom space for the specialists for art, music, science, technology, and engineering. Collaborative spaces, we have small group spaces that are built into or in between classrooms. These are not spaces that will be filled by an additional teacher. They'll be visible spaces that we can put students into, maybe our special education students, our multilingual learners, our Title I students, or our high achieving students, so they can work in these collaborative spaces. We have enhanced learning spaces within the hallways. No longer will kids be sitting on the floor in the hallway next to lockers. They'll have actual learning spaces where teachers can split groups up, and we'll have satellite libraries throughout the building. Spaces for each group, we will have an upper and a lower school. We feel they'll both have their own identity. The upper school being the 4 to 6 and the lower K to 3. They'll be separate, but there will be shared spaces in the middle. The goal is for them not to be mixing, but they'll be seeing one another throughout the day, but they will not be mixed, similar to here at the middle senior high school when they have students on different floors. We're looking to add outdoor learning opportunities for our students with our play areas, with our outdoor learning spaces, the connectiveness to nature and the wetlands, which we know are close by, and indoor and outdoor spaces for the whole community. The middle senior high school here, you came in tonight and you saw our football team getting ready for their playoff game tomorrow night, coming and enjoying the space. But on most nights, you'll also see elementary students in here, maybe cheerleaders, or you'll see the Girl Scouts or other groups. It'd be nice for them to have their own space so they don't have to be pushed to other parts of the building. And we also hope for our building to be operational not only during the school year, but during the weekends for our youth organizations, during the summer, and for a community space for people to come and just enjoy the play areas and the walking trails that are around them. And also, having a full-size gym will be important. The gym there will be pretty much the same size as you're combining the current Roselle and the Howard gym. So again, this is our vision for the future. We've got outstanding kids, we've got outstanding educators who do a great job every single day, and we really want to give them the best opportunity moving forward, for the next 30 to 50 years in this new facility. Thank you.
So Gary spoke about the budget and the fact that we have made some decisions. There have been a number of decisions made by the school building committee that have brought the budget down. Some of those include specific selection of the HVAC system. There was a decision that was not the most expensive system, but was a very efficient system that will work well for the life of the building. We reduced the overall site development, squeezing further and further out of the wetlands and smaller development footprint. We've removed the district offices from the project, as well as the pre-K, actually, both of which will for the short term at least, stay at Spring Street. We fine-tuned the number of classrooms and the size of the program. Again, I spoke to that, working closely with the district to define exactly what the needs are. And most importantly, to this idea of space planning, all of the space is eligible for MSBA, for funding from the MSBA grant, which is really quite an accomplishment. It underlines the idea that we have really efficiently planned this building and that the district has really efficiently planned their programming. And with that, I'm going to hand off to Sean Burke from our owner's project manager.
Thank you, James.
Can everyone hear me? How you doing? I'm Sean Burke from PMA Consultants, the owner's project manager. So the next section, we're going to walk through project costs and really the costs to the district and the taxpayers as well. So our current project budget, as Gary mentioned, is $169,640,380, of which the MSBA's potential maximum grant is $72,133,593. So the cost to the district that would need to be incurred over through bonding and through a debt exclusion is $97,506,787. The town has set up a tax calculator on the website. You can go there. There's a link on the page, and you can put in your property tax, and it will tell you what your increased assessment is estimated to be should this project move forward. There we go. So when towns go to debt exclusions, there's two ways that they can really pull the debt. One is called a level debt. This is where equal payments are made every year. During early years, you pay a smaller portion of the premium. In later years, you pay a larger portion of the premium. And so therefore, earlier on, you're paying more interest. Later on, you're paying less interest. You can also, this is more like a 30-year fixed mortgage. For anyone who has one of those, you make the same payment over time. And you pay most of the principal towards the end of the loan and more of the interest up front. You can also use level principal, which a portion of the principal paid is consistent. So you pay more up front, but the payments decrease over time, and it saves you interest over the life of the loan. So this is the method that the town is looking at proceeding with to fund this project. And over the course of the 30 years, it will save the district roughly $12 million in interest payments over time. So we use the town calculator to calculate what it would cost at year one for a payment on a valuation of $100,000. So these numbers are per $100,000. If we use level debt, it would be $246 per $100,000 over the year, over the 30-year period. With level principal, you start at $310 per $100,000, and it decreases every year. And by the end of the loan, it's at $146 per $100,000. The town calculator does calculate the first year and show you what your increase would be the first year. This is just a chart to kind of highlight that fact and show that there's your across the middle with the 246, that's the level debt payment, and what the town is proposing is the level principal, where it starts higher but gradually decreases over time. One of the questions that has come up periodically is why does it cost so much more than the middle high school project that you did back in 2012? And the real reason is that construction costs have increased dramatically since then. The building is slightly bigger. It's about 8,500 square feet bigger. It does serve a larger population. But if you take the $63 million cost that you had for the middle high school back in 2012 and escalated that to today's dollars, this project today would cost about $159 million. This chart is from the MSBA. If you go on their website, you can pull it. This shows all of the projects they have done since 2009. And there is an upward trend of cost that is representative here. If you look to the left, the blue box over there is the middle high school project. That was, it started in 2012, entered into their grant program sometime in 2013. And the Roselle project is on the right. And back in when the high school project done, that was a cost of $328 per square foot. The Roselle project right now for construction cost is $876 a square foot. And back when this project was done, you were right on trend, on cost with most of the other MSBA projects, and this project is slightly below the average cost for MSB projects that are going out at this time. We pulled elementary and middle school projects that are kind of focused around the 2026, 2027 construction start date, just to show that West Bridgewater falls basically right in the middle of those. Some are a little less, some are more, but it's not relatively an expensive school per square foot compared to what the market is doing right now. So one question we're asked is, what happens if we don't vote for the school project? Can we just change the program? And the answer is no. If the MSBA will only fund this project, this is the project that the school building committee elected to submit to the MSBA. So if this does not go forward, you will not be able to just change your mind and collect money from the state. So you will lose the grant that they're offering on this one. You'll need to continue to repair and maintain your buildings, potential renovation down the road. If the schools grow and populations grows, you'll have to figure out how to account for that population growth with either additions on the schools or modular classrooms. The students and teachers remain in the aging facilities that are currently operating in existence, and you can reapply for state funding, but that could take years in order to get back into the MSBA pipeline. Just a reminder for the timeline with this project was accepted into the MSBA program, or you submitted a statement of interest in 2022. It was accepted at the end of 2023. You went through forming a team and your feasibility study, and we started with the PDP submission, which is our preliminary design program, went to the MSBA in January of 2025. This looked at 19 different options. From there, we pared down in our PSR program down to 10 different options. And from that, one option was chosen, and that is what is being submitted to the MSBA for consideration. That leads us up to tonight, where we're presenting the project to the town. MSBA approval is set for December of this year, and then town meeting and town vote to follow. So one of the things we looked at is a school up in Ipswich, the Winthrop Dorian School. They had a project back in 2015 where it failed the vote. That project at the time had an estimated cost of $69.5 million with a grant of $26 million. So the district share was roughly $43.5 million. They just got back into the MSB program in December of 2024. Right now, the projected construction start date of that project would be 2030. So it's an 11-year delay for them from the failed vote to when they're going to get back in and build the school. Right now, they're estimating the total project cost at $165 million, with the maximum grant around $62.5 and a district share of $102. So just highlighting that over time, these schools continue to get more expensive, and the longer you wait to do them, the more expensive construction gets. So we saw from the middle high school to doing this project. And so what future costs would you have to do? Well, the existing schools would ultimately require renovations and replacement of the buildings to remain useful. We did cost analysis of those earlier on, and the cost was around $96 million to renovate both of those buildings. They wouldn't be supported by the MSBA, so all of that cost would be borne by the district. They wouldn't improve any educational facilities to meet the district's needs, and they would not accommodate any growth, and would likely require swing space costs to move students out while you provide those renovations. And then modular classrooms or building additions would be required to accommodate enrollment growth in the future. So here's our comparison for the total project costs. What we had, the top one is our project that we presented to the MSBA, the $169.5 million with the MSBA grant, district share showing $97 million. The renovation costs that we estimated back in our PDP for the Roselle and Howard repairs total $96 million. So without the MSB grant, it's slightly more expensive to build the brand new building, which is part of the reason that the building committee decided to go with the new build option. And just to note, the repairs do not include any additional space. They don't increase classroom sizes. They don't increase gym sizes. They don't right size the cafeterias or common spaces, and they don't provide any room for enrollment growth. So one of the questions about this is why do they encourage consolidations, what they do? And I think it's because they see the rising costs of construction, and if you can take care of all of your needs once and for all, in the long term, it becomes less expensive for districts to do that. One building, a larger building, is less expensive to build. It's less expensive to maintain and operate, and it can have a very large positive impact on day one to the largest student population. You can replace multiple aging buildings and get rid of significant deferred maintenance all at once, and minimize the number of projects that you have to go through in the same district. One of the questions is, wouldn't a smaller school save money? Well, right now it's the K through 6 is the only project that the MSBA will accept in receive. So it's not an option to make this school smaller, drop the budget that way. There is no cost savings there. The MSBA will only fund the school that is being presented right now. And like we said, if the vote fails, you will not receive any of the funding from the state. There is no option to get money for a different project at this time. You have to go back into the pipeline and wait your turn to get back into their process. So a smaller project would need to be about half the size to start to be less expensive for the taxpayers, and it would leave future projects and larger future expenditures down the road. So I think we're just trying to explain all the reasons that the MSBA is only funding this project and where and why you can't just decide to build a smaller school at this point. Like we said, on April 8th, after reviewing all the projects, the school committee decided to proceed with the kindergarten through sixth grade because it meets the district educational plans for all the students. It resolves all the district needs for elementary students, and it maximizes the state grant. So those are part of the reasons leading up to the building committee's decision to vote to proceed with this project. So that is the project that will be proceeded with. All right, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Sean. So, as the chair of the school building committee, and this is my second rodeo, and admittedly probably a more challenging one than chairing the project for this building. Seems like a piece of cake after that 10-year effort compared to all the issues and decisions we've had to make on this project. But also as a lifelong resident of the town of West Bridgewater, 10th generation from Reverend James Keith, so a lot of history here. And I don't minimize the effect of what this project means to the residents and the taxpayers. It's a big nut. The school building committee, which is made up of 65% residents, and a majority of those did vote for the project. I think that we need to look at, why is this the right time now? We went through the educational plan for K through 6. One question you may be asking yourself, other than the logistics of pre-K staying at Spring Street, is why wasn't pre-K in the mix from an MSBA standpoint? Well, they don't count pre-K in their student population, in their design enrollment. They'll give you space for classrooms if pre-K is part of the project, but they don't count the pre-K students in their enrollment. And pre-K tipped the scale for us at Roselle on the septic up there, and so we didn't want to go down that path, similar to what we were facing at Howard. We moved the students out of the old undersized facilities. As James went over, it is efficiently designed. This HVA system that we're putting in, the only option that you have is electric-based. That's the state requirement now. But I think we've ended up with the right decision from a cost standpoint and from an efficiency standpoint with that. The $72 million, it's on the table. That's tough to walk away from, and you're probably looking at 5 to 10 years before we're back in the queue again. It's been well over, this school has now been open for over 10 years, and so if you go back to the years before that, it's been a long time between the time we entered into the process with MSBA for this building until we were eligible to come back in for the elementary school project. It actually improves the pre-K space in the Spring Street. Again, it may only be short-term, but getting kindergarten out of there allows them to spread out from the cram quarters that they're in right now and to utilize that space, at least for a short term. It does open Howard for some potential other uses, whether that's moving pre-K over and the district offices over, whether it's using it for some other town space, whether it's looking at income opportunities on collaborative schools that rent space around the area. Who knows? That is not a decision of the school building committee. Those decisions have to be made down the road between the school committee and the town administration. And ultimately, we want a source of pride for the community. And yes, it impacts our tax rate, but at the same time, not making the right decisions on a timely basis also has a negative effect on evaluation in terms of the competitive nature in selling your property at some point down the road and looking at the condition of the schools for potential buyers. So I think that's an important issue as well. One thing I do want to, before I forget, is the entire presentation, as we've done with all the community forums, the presentation that you see here tonight will be posted on the project website. All the submittals that we've made to the MSBA are posted on the website, so the three, including the schematic design that we've gone over tonight, that has recently been posted. All the committee meeting minutes are there. All the presentations that are made at each school building committee meeting are there. So we are fully transparent with everything that's gone on with the school building committee since we were formed in June of 2023. So I know that's a lot of information for you. I know you probably have questions, and we want to try to answer those between all of us to the best of our ability. We will probably be scheduling one or two other of these sessions, and obviously you're welcome to come again if we do schedule another one. But I will tell you, there won't be anything new for us to talk about really between now, other than the fact that the MSBA board is going to vote in December. Between now and when we schedule the special town meeting vote, there really won't be anything new for us to add. So you're welcome to come again, but if we do schedule another community forum, it'd basically be a repeat performance of what you're seeing tonight. So just a heads up on that. Any questions? If you would come and use the mic so everybody can hear the question, and we'll answer it to the best of our ability. Mo?
Let's make sure it's on. Mo McCarthy, 23 Captain Carlson Way. I did not see the last meeting of the building committee, but I did see the result of the vote. And from a personal perspective, I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't unanimous. I don't know if that's typical or not, but would you be willing to share why the people that voted no voted no?
I think I won't pretend to speak for them, and just I have my notes written down on the numbers so I can report this accurately to you. The night of the vote that we took for the submit the school building design, schematic building design, we had 23 of the 26 voting members present, and 15 of the 23, or 65%, voted in favor of that. And by the way, out of those 15, 10 of those were residents, so that's 67% of the residents. I would say that based on the vote that occurred on the budget, I think there is some concern from the no voters relative to the financial impact. I think it's as simple as that. I don't know if anybody else has another opinion of that, but I think that's what it comes down to. Yeah, it's a big ask. We get that. Mm-hmm.
Charlie Lucchetti, 9 bought so much, don't know where to start. Other than, let's start with the budget. The 169 the state reimburses the next. If you owe 169, does the state number change, or does the town inherit the rest of that?
The state number won't change. I mean, we have voted costs not to exceed, so we've got the contingencies are built in as part of that.
When were those budgets established? Pre or pre-current administration? Tariffs, all going to impact building costs, especially if you're getting anything out of Canada nowadays. Is any of that factored in?
Sean, do you want to speak to the escalators that are in the...
So the cost is derived from, the construction cost derived from our estimating firms. We have two estimators, one through the architect, one through the OPM, who estimate it, and they add escalation and what they're seeing in the market into our budget. They also add design and pricing contingencies into our budget to try to get us close to a number that we feel comfortable about moving forward with, which is where we're at now.
I'm gonna add to that. Additionally, while it's rare, sometimes numbers do come in. Things happen in the world. We saw it with COVID, that increase costs. in,
And all I was
in
trying to
unforeseeable ways.
All I was trying to
In our
establish
job,
is,
but-
is when were these numbers established as to, is it a year ago?
No,
which
no,
is
these
now
numbers were,
totally out of-
these
out of
estimates were
sync?
done 2 months ago, approximately.
In October. Yeah, October.
October.
Okay, you answered that question. Number two. That lots of things.
Well, sorry, I do want to finish this thought. I
Oh,
apologize, if you don't
okay.
mind.
No, that's all right.
When numbers do increase for reasons that we can't foresee, it is our responsibility and the committee's responsibility to make value engineering decisions that get us back to budget.
Okay. Did I understand the financial spreadsheet? Assuming probably the average value of a house is in and around 500,000, you're proposing a $1,700 a year increase to taxes?
I could do the math. I think it was about $310 per 100,000. So
So that's 15
15,
plus.
yeah, 1550, something like yes.
On year one.
On year
On
one.
year
yeah,
one.
Yes, on year
Well,
one.
A
And
lot
less
of,
than-
a
less
lot
than
of us
half.
retirees aren't going to be here in year 30, so it doesn't really, those numbers don't much matter to us. Next question. Water retention. I believe I remember reading in what came in 2 downloads of 600 to 800 pages apiece, that the water retention is designed to handle from a 10 to 100-year storm. Do we really consider that adequate, considering we seem to have in this country 500-year storms annually?
We are designing to, best practice.
Okay.
Say it again.
I'm pretty sure the code is for.
And yeah, right, the code is for a 100-year storm, that's right.
Doesn't give us on Goldale Road a lot of comfort when I see my neighbor to my right who has a lake in their backyard every spring. I have a septic system that's bordering to the woods in back of my house that has 2 to 3 inches of water every spring. I am grossly concerned with additional water runoff coming from this project.
The project we are bettering the site, both in terms of impervious area within that 50-foot wetland buffer and with water retention. Right now, there is no water retention. Everything that falls on that site runs off of it. That's not going to be the case with this project. So the condition will be better than it is now.
So your position is that we are going to be better off than where we are today.
Correct.
Is the town prepared to guarantee such a thing? That being,
I
set
can't
up
speak
an
to that.
escrow when, okay, let's go a different direction here. What's the estimate for the potential increase in water table if we're going to be putting this water underground? Have we done any hydrological studies as to the impact in the surrounding area in terms of water table?
I don't know the answer to that offhand, but I can look into it.
So that gets me back to the question of, would the town be in a position to set up an escrow to help offset potential damages to neighboring properties?
That's not something under the purview of the school building committee. You'd have to direct that question to the town administration.
Well, as a representative of me, can you direct that to the town?
I mean, I certainly am welcome to have the conversation, but it isn't something that is under our purview. But I certainly will make it known that the question was asked. Glad to do that.
Okay. Your site plan, well, let's start with August or September, I read that you voted against the soccer field. I noted in this presentation it wasn't there, but in this 1,000-page multi-thousand-page
Submittal.
submittal, those schematics all still have it in. So is it in or is it out?
It's out. Yes, there may have been some older schematics in there, but it is out, and the reason it's out, it was an extra expense. You know, just like I'll defend this building, I'll defend the new building in terms of, you know, not being extravagant. The one exception was that field, and early on, the school building committee felt that putting a field as part of this project would allow some extra capacity within the town, recognizing the fact that the MSBA was not going to reimburse one dime for that field. But we thought, well, let's try to squeeze it out of the budget. When we got further along in the design in terms of the entry road and the changes we needed to make there, we felt as a committee that the field dimensions were only going to allow us to have an under 10 soccer field, not a full regulation. The school staff were telling us they were not going to use that field for school day activities because it was too remote from the building, so we voted to take it out.
I'd like to add something about the submittal itself. The submittal, multiple thousands of pages, absolutely. The, you know, the current drawings, the submittal covers everything that's happened since feasibility. So there's, you know, it covers the process. So there are the current drawings, which actually do not show the field, but there are lots of drawings throughout that are part of that process that do
Yeah,
show
I
it.
took close note of that. I'm curious in terms of, we talked about a 60-foot tree buffer, but in some places, you have development right up to that 60-foot. What is our realistic tree buffer in such a situation? You can't be building a road and have trees right aside of where the road is existing.
Where the road comes up to that 60-foot buffer, we plant new trees.
But what will be removed in the interim?
Not, I don't know the dimension, but not significant. The plan will be to maintain as much of that 60 as we can. There is a location where we come right to it, and you're right, there will be some clearing within that, but it's absolutely minimal. And that's where we show the new trees.
Have you submitted and obtained a waiver on the wetlands?
We have met with, informally with Conservation Commission, with Zoning Board of Appeals, and with the Planning Board. But the process with MSBA, we do not do the formal submittals until after the MSBA vote and after the town vote in the phase called design development. But we know the concerns that have been raised, and that's why we've done all we can to make sure that the building is out of the buffer. We do admit that there's a couple of spots with the loop road that are impacted, but our assessment is that the net effect comparing the impact on the wetlands from the existing site compared to what we're proposing is an improvement, and that's the way we'll move forward with that philosophy.
Do you have any examples of other town buildings, school buildings that had the same issues, and did they run into problems?
You mean in other towns you're
Yes.
talking about? Relative to wetlands.
We certainly have had projects that have built around wetlands and replicated wetlands. I don't have any examples to produce tonight, but we can certainly look in and come up with examples
But
of
you
it.
didn't have any problem getting approvals through the state or anything for those circumstances?
It's town by town, depending on how, you know, their Concom. Typically, it's town, and some projects do go to the state to get waivers on top of the town. That is true.
Who has ultimate jurisdiction, state or town?
I believe the state ultimately does, if you appeal to them and appeal a town's decision. But I could look in and get you more information on that if it's something you'd like more information on.
Well, I guess I'm done. Oh, and one last thing. I know, you'd like me to go away. Probably everybody back there would.
I think I'd at least like you to call halftime and let some others come up, and then you can come back. Is
No,
that all right?
one last thing,
All right.
and just Oh, now I lost it. Oh, you had mentioned 65% of your committee are town residents.
Correct.
Anybody from Goldie Road? Anyone from the neighborhood in general?
I'm not aware of anyone that has a
That's
Goldie
not a
Road ad.
surprise.
One of our educators lives in that neighborhood.
There we go.
On Goldie?
No, in the neighborhood,
Hot Sean or Brewster?
not exactly sure.
Okay. That's it. Just in general, you can pretty much guess. I'm not really in favor of this, only because I love the layout. I think it's important education. I just think you went out of your way to cram it into a place that it doesn't really belong. You really should consider not suggesting in one of your first slides that aesthetics was an issue to the abutting neighbors. What, we don't have an issue with it either? So, just a thought.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it.
I'll be quick.
Sure.
I'm Jack Broderick. I live on Goldie Road. What is the estimated time? Well, first of all, I like what you've done, and I think that the town needs this. We're growing. We've been here since 1974. My kids went through the schools. Part of the allure, if you will, of West Bridgewater is that fits in.
Thank you.
Time to build. When you first put the shovel in the ground, what is the time frame?
About a year from the vote?
For the first phase, yeah, and then a year after that.
Yeah. So the construction would start about a year after the vote.
Okay. So 2027 approximately?
Correct.
And then how long would it take to,
It's about 18 months for phase one, correct? 18 months for phase one, and then a couple of months for move-in and knockdown of the existing building, and then phase two can be built.
I just want to make sure I'm around to see it, you know what I mean?
And that'll be another, 16 months.
Okay. One of the
More than that,
issues
maybe
that
20.
you mentioned was a queue for up to 90 cars along Stepping Stone. It seems, looking when you drive by Spring Street and you drive by Stepping Stone in the afternoon, that there's a lot of cars there. There's also some abutters right on Stepping Stone that are going to be affected by 90 cars. Is that road that comes in, are the drivers going to go around the building they're going to enter and leave?
So the queuing starts approximately here, comes around here. There's a break because buses are turning in, and then it picks up here and goes to about here. That's the 90 cars. And then the configuration changes to get to 230.
All right, that's the plan.
Correct.
Is there going to be an enforcement of the plan?
Mark, you want to speak to that?
I can speak from the experience of being at Roselle in the mornings and seeing what that looks like. So I stand out there, several mornings. Last week was one of the times, and I saw where they queued up. And the queue from if you're familiar with the Roselle McDonald, when I'm standing there, it originally goes around the parking lot and then comes back. But once that original queue comes through, for the remainder of the arrival, it only went to about where the flagpole is. So now we're looking to extend it beyond the school or around. So granted, that's, about a little over a third of the population. So we know it's going to go further back. So are you asking how far back do you think?
No,
we'll
I
go?
was it's lining up 90 cars goes a long way.
So I think what I've been told is there's going to be designated lanes for the cars to queue in. That'll be the furthest to the right. There'll still be a passing lane for the buses to go through, or for our educators, if they're coming in, they'll be able to go into the parking lot, and then there'll also be a lane coming out. So I think we will enforce it with, the administrators and walking around to see, and certainly lots of messaging. It always takes lots of messaging in time for people to understand the patterns.
Mark, one other thing, if you show up on Goldie Road when school lets out, that's becoming a crowded area now, because people are pulling in there, picking up their kids as they come through that shortcut. It's not a big problem, but if you triple the size of what you've got, how are we going to protect the kids? How are we going to keep the neighborhood safe with all that traffic that's going to be coming through Goldie Road?
Great question, because I could see how that could, affect the neighborhood. So that, again, would be messaging. We see that at the middle senior high school. We know there's some concerns about the loop around the middle senior high school coming through Spring Street. So it's continuing messaging, and it's also positioning people in that area. So here at the middle senior high school, we have one of our administrators standing there that will remind people not to come into that parking lot because it becomes a safety issue. The same way I think it would be a safety issue at Roselle. So I think we would have to really enforce that people can't use that as a pickup, and they have to follow the way everyone else is going. And sometimes people don't want to do that. They want a more convenient way. So that would be on the school district to enforce that so that doesn't become the secondary pickup.
Okay. And as far as the increase in taxes go, nobody's going to like it, but a little bit of pain for that kind of improvement is worth it.
Thank you.
Steve Cosgrove, Goldie Road. Jack stole a little bit of my thunder there on the path, but I was just curious on the property line, the 60-foot buffer you have. Is there any, all those trees are coming out then, I take it, obviously, right?
No.
For drainage and stuff? Not in the outside of the 60-foot buffer?
A lot of trees will remain,
Oh, they-
remain, but we kind of set this goal right at the beginning. We said, we're going to try to maintain this buffer. And since then, a lot has changed. We've learned a lot more about how much wetlands there are. We've learned a lot more.
Right.
We've decided how big the building is. A lot has changed, and we've done our best to maintain that
Yeah,
buffer. But no, there will be.
There's quite a bit of water
there
back
will
there.
be-
I'm sure you're aware of it.
We've had a wetland scientist walk the
Yeah.
site and as well as a wetland survey, a flag survey.
Is that what those flags are in the back there, I
Correct.
noticed?
Correct.
So the plan from what I'm talking about is Stepping Stone Drive, the road to the orange lines. You plan on taking trees out?
There will be trees removed, but there will also be a lot of trees remaining.
Okay, all right, because there's a lot of dead trees
Yep.
within the 60-foot, and I was wondering, are those going to be pruned? For safety for the kids?
We haven't really dug in. I think that would be a part of the project, but we haven't gotten to that level of detail.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Lee Anderson, 106 South Elm Street. I'm the chairman on the conservation. And to speak a little bit on that, as for the wetlands, the board, we do have concerns. I myself have only seen the plans once. They've only come in front of us once on the board. We won't see anything until after the vote. They want us to vote on something that we don't even know it's going to cost more money to even do this project with the wetlands. As retention areas and everything like that, yes, they are designed to help provide more for the water to help not eliminate, but not impact any more than what. Agent's here, he can speak about that. As for Stepping Stone Drive, they basically had to straighten that out because encroachment on the 50-foot buffer, which the bylaw that we have, we don't really allow the work in the 50-foot buffer because of new construction, but we do work with the people if they do have a replication area to provide the work that if we do allow the waiver to work in it, but they don't have this on this property because there's too much wetlands. Usually we do 2-to-1 replication area. They don't have that. So there is a lot of work or will be encroaching into the 50, and as for that field or whatever they wanted to put up in the beginning there, the only reason they didn't put it in there because it was in the wetland. So, there is a lot of concerns for the board. We will not allow work in the 50-foot buffer, and within the 100-foot. We don't like to go too much into the 100-foot wetlands, but we'll see what it comes in front of us after the vote. But we have no clue. I have no clue. We have a lot of concerns on the board, and we don't know if this is even going to be feasible to even work the right way or not. But the agent's here tonight. If he wants to speak upon that, he can. I just wanted to speak upon that.
On the widening of Stepping Stone Drive, are you planning on taking that land by eminent domain?
We're 100% on town property.
I know where this stepping stone is, and I know where my driveway is and my property, and your widening 10 feet is not on town property. In fact, your line is going through my driveway and my camper, which is right there, that little white box.
I had mentioned we'd had a preliminary meeting with the chair of the planning board and the town planner, and the plans were updated when Stepping Stone was accepted as a town street, and I believe it was 2012. And when we started this project, I stood up here at the very first session and said that we would not be taking anybody's property to do any sort of work on that entry road. But once we realized when that plan was updated in 2012, that there was town-owned land on both sides available to us to create that third lane, we did put that in the plan. So, and we're working on that assurance from that source that is available for us to create that third lane.
And the 135 spaces, you believe that's enough spaces for 1,100 and some odd students when you have events, that they're not going to be parking all over my yard like they were recently driving into my field?
So the 135 spaces is to serve the school day. Management of parking during events would be back to the.
Yeah, that's been
the
poor.
district.
Yeah, definitely aware of that incident that happened when someone
That's
did pull
one,
it.
that was only one
Okay,
incident. That was
okay.
the first time it was actually even received, because we had prior complaints as well.
And we apologize for that. What our goal is with the passing lane is there will be more parking now along the sides of the road. We'll also look to do staggered events. We wouldn't be doing whole school events, during the day. We'd stagger events like we do now, because unfortunately, at every school building, there's probably never going to be enough parking available. You don't build the parking lots for these big events, but we hope to stagger the start so there is an appropriate number of parking spots.
There is going to be significant issues with land, and if you come in 5 feet into my land, you're going to kill the 2 trees that are there. You're going to destroy my property value personally, and that kind of displacement from a building that large is also going to move water, whether it's spread or not. It's the groundwater. We live in a friggin' swamp. I mean,
And one thing is, this speaks to you and to the other abutters and residents of Goldie and the neighborhood. We appreciate good neighbors and we want to be good neighbors, so we want to work with all the abutters to do what's best.
Hi, Adam Kwan, 160 North Elm Street. My concern, I live right south of the entrance to Roselle. And a lot of people know where we live. In the mornings and afternoons, there are times where it's gridlocked, and people, there's really an issue with traffic. If you have to really widen that roadway to allow for emergency vehicles. If something happens at the same time as when school lets out and when they actually enter. My concern, one of my concerns is that if you widen the road to an extent, my septic system runs right along that line. And when they do excavating, I'm afraid they're going to do damage. So what do I have for recourse if something like that happens?
We'd have to look at that, and that's why we've sent out the notification to you, to both immediate abutters, to go through start the process of discussion about how to do this effectively and safely with all those considerations. We're a long way from sticking a shovel in the ground, and that's why we want to, get with you and the other immediate abutter to figure out what the best plan is to make this happen.
How about the emergency vehicle situation? Like I mentioned, right now, there are times when it's really gridlocked and you can't get a cruiser down there. The only way you could really get a cruiser or a fire truck would be in through Goldie Road, through that back entrance.
That emergency access will remain off of Goldie, but also the widening of the road and the adding of a lane will help with emergencies. It will
So
help
it
get
would be
an
like-
emergency vehicle by with cars pulled over into the side lane,
Okay.
and that's the plan.
Tim?
Tim Hay, the conservation agent for Town of West Bridgewater. First question is, the site plan that you're showing me here varies differently from the one submitted to MSBA. It's missing a couple of key elements, and I'm just curious if they've been eliminated or they're just not on this plan.
Can you be more specific?
Specifically, the current walkway to Stepping Stone Drive down to the school through the woods. It's not on this plan, it was on the state one. There was also the athletic field area, was submitted on the plan as being cleared. It's not shown on this plan as being cleared.
So the path was removed in the MSBA.
It's gonna be fully
final
removed and
drawings,
taken out?
That will be removed. There is a path following the road.
Right, a walkway along the road edge. But the one that's through the woods.
And the plan for removing the one through the woods, there's two reasons for removing it that I think you're aware of. One is impervious surface.
Right.
And one is that there is there's a hot pipe under it that we're going to be removing. The way this illustrative plan shows, it does not show the tree clearing that is still planned towards.
Because on the site plans that went to MSBA that I got sent,
to the east of
showed
that
that it was going to be
wetland area.
cleared still at the entrance to Stepping Stone.
Correct, and the reason for that is really about construction logistics. Yeah, lay down area.
That may be a concern. I mean, that's just going to create more runoff, more storm problems, more tree removal, to a site that's already going to be removing quite a few trees. The 50-foot buffer issue, that will come up eventually at a public hearing and permitting. Commission has held that any new disturbance to the 50-foot. I don't know what that, okay. Any new disturbance within the 50-foot, they don't look highly upon. The area that, let me see if that works better. The previously disturbed, this whole site was pre-Wetland Protection Act and pre-bylaw, so anything that's done on it is a vast improvement from what was there. I'll give you credit for that. You are looking to remove a lot of impervious areas that should have never been built on in the beginning. That's a plus, but you're never going to recreate what Mother Nature already has there. So going into those 50-foot buffers that are not disturbed already, that's going to be a big hurdle. And my personal opinion is this wetland line that was established after the process was so far down the road that moving everything to stay out of that 50 was a difficult feat to do. Most projects that have come before this town, the design engineers look at that wetland line in the beginning and stay out of the 50-foot from the beginning all the way through. We've had subdivisions, giant warehouses. They've stayed out of the 50 except for new wetland crossings, which we have to allow. But the 50-foot buffer for new disturbance, unless it's a crossing, which you're already going to have to do some replication work for the two wetland crossings that you're doing, and buffer enhancement for the new disturbance, which is going to limit the amount of space you have to do those in already. So it's something you definitely need to consider as this goes forward.
Thank you, Tim.
Hi, Vin Zabelli from West Bridgewater, of course, from North Elm Street. My question is the septic system. Okay, we're not going to need a water treatment plant here?
Correct.
In other words, we're going to have enough room, okay, because I don't see, like, if they had an idea where it's going to be, so.
Yeah, you can actually see it in the plan. It's the white dashed
Oh, that's
line.
it, okay, all right. I
Correct.
can't see it from back there.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. So then, of course, it goes up.
And there's been some test pits dug, and your Board of Health has witnessed them, and
Okay, I was just wondering what was going on, because I remember when we first started the initial talk about the school, we had said that if we moved everybody over there, we would probably have to put a water treatment plant. But just by eliminating the pre-K, that did it? Okay. Answered my question. Yep.
Yes, that's right. Eliminating pre-K at Roselle eliminated the need to do wastewater.
Is the secondary leaching field, I believe that's secondary, as written out, is there any potential for moving it? I'm just wondering why it was established in the direction it was, that if you just spun it 90 degrees, you wouldn't encroach towards the 60 feet as much as you are now, and even moved it off to the left a little along the road.
well, so its general location is dictated by by the existing wetland lines on either side, and so we're trying to get to a point in the middle, farthest from the wetlands to the east and wetlands to the west. The exact orientation of it is I think somewhat up for grabs during the remainder of the design process. But this is where, again, we've dug a number of test wells. Okay. You saw them digging the well, digging the test wells? You came out and helped
Sticking up out of the
them?
ground now. Is that measuring groundwater?
Correct.
What is the groundwater level?
I don't know it right now. I apologize.
So-
The idea is that monitoring port will be useful as we go for application.
Yeah, I really appreciate it if you reorient.
We can look at that.
Thank you.
I also have a question. I was at a zoning board meeting, and there was an issue with the height of the building. Is that been resolved, or is there 60 feet going to still be the height of the, whatever part of the building?
We haven't changed the plan, so we approached ZBA on the idea of making them aware of the issue with basically the third floor in that one area of the building, and their response, we weren't looking for a vote that night. They weren't planning to take a vote. They were going to follow up with the town council on the issues surrounding what's called the Dover Amendment. The Dover Amendment allows educational facilities to move forward with basically not requiring necessarily a full variance from the ZBA on a height limitation. And so they were going to look into the Dover Amendment with the town council, and we haven't heard anything back from them regarding that inquiry.
Does the Dover issue thing overrule the zoning board's bylaws?
That's our understanding, yes,
It does.
yes.
So it's going to be what, how high is it going to, supposed to be, 60 feet, you said?
It's close to that.
And
At the high point.
what's the regulations for the town usually, for
The
38, 35,
35.
38 feet? So you're going to be putting a 60-foot high building in a residential area, basically? That's what I was,
and that is what the Dover Amendment is there for, to allow
it doesn't,
municipalities to.
so it allows it in a residential area,
To allow,
basically anywhere?
correct.
So, okay.
And
So
again,
it's going to be 60 feet, so people are going to be able to see it from their,
No.
no? You're not going to be able to see 60 feet up in the air?
Through the tree buffer, it's a distance, they shouldn't be able to see it.
Really? Okay.
And again, it's part of one of the wings, just part of the upper school wing. Right. Are there any other questions?
Carol Ashton, 196 River Street. I'm also on the Conservation Commission. So I'm very concerned with wetland regulations and stormwater runoff. If I heard you correctly, when we were talking about wetland regulations, our town has stricter ones than the state. I do not, and we're not sure if the state can overrule our decisions. Do you know that?
Oh,
Are you counting on that?
I'm not sure. Can you hear her? Because I'm not sure that mic's working.
Oh.
Were you able?
I think her question, Tim, was can the state, I guess she means the DEP, overrule the local?
Our ruling.
They can issue a superseding order of conditions if they don't agree with our wetlands.
Are you going to appeal it if we don't agree?
I can't answer that question at this point, and just as a matter of a what if, that's completely out of context where we're at right now.
So at this point, if we were to hold a hearing and deny their permit, they could appeal to the state for superseding order of conditions, where the state would come in and overrule us for the state portion of it. The local bylaw portion, that might be a Superior Court case eventually if it has to go to that. I don't think we're going to have to hopefully ever deal with that.
Right. The hope is that it doesn't, that we don't do that. That we don't need to do that.
Al Crockett, Crescent Street. How wide Stepping Stone gonna be?
33 feet,
What is it now?
24, 23, 24.
9, 10 feet. MSBA is only gonna cover the building, none of the site work, correct?
Not exactly. The MSBA has caps for all sorts of things. It has caps for cost per square foot that don't cover the realities of construction. It has caps on the percent of the project that can be spent on site. So the site costs will exceed the MSBA's cap.
Okay, and what if they exceed what you guys think they're gonna be? Because now you're dealing in a wet area.
Again, there are.
The number's gonna run up if you
We have
run into an issue.
Yeah, let me address that. So we have multiple, we have two cost estimates. It doesn't mean they're perfect. We have contingencies that allow for them not to be perfect. And then beyond that, there is, if necessary, there is a value engineering process.
So have you built in a buffer that beyond the 169?
Say that again?
Have you built in a buffer beyond the 169?
No, the 169 holds the buffer. The 169 includes the buffer. It
Okay.
includes contingencies for design and design and pricing. So it includes contingencies for things we don't know.
Yeah. And it doesn't include, the 169 doesn't include tearing down the old building.
It does include tearing down the old
Does.
building. Yes, it includes everything that it would
Are
take.
there any asbestos issues in that building?
Yes, of course there are.
Okay.
It's contained. The asbestos is only dangerous if it's
Until
in the
you-
air, and it's
yep.
not. It is a very much a safe condition, but buildings of that age have hazmat issues, and that is included in the cost estimate and the costs that you're seeing.
And what were the issues with the traffic study that was done on this area? You said there was some stuff that they suggested. So did
No,
the traffic
the
study
things-
not pass?
The recommendations from the traffic study were widening Stepping Stone Lane and creating a left and right turn lane and separating the parent and bus drop-off.
But what about North Elm Street?
There are recommendations within that the traffic study off-site intersections that are not part of the scope of this committee or this project.
Okay.
An example of that was that the traffic study recommended traffic lights at North Elm and Crescent.
Yeah.
Well, a
And-
study to see if. yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. But again, it went beyond what we were looking at. And that's not any different than the traffic study that was done for this building, which ironically did not recommend traffic lights at West Center and Howard, which obviously
Yeah.
we have now, so.
There should be a four-way stop at
Take-
Crescent and North Elm.
Take that for what it's worth,
So,
And just as an example on this thing about contingency and value engineering, and again, I'll use this building as an example. You know, we had a budget of 63, that was our cost not to exceed. When that project went forward, we did not have lights on the field, we did not have bleachers.
right.
And we valued engineered to make sure that those were included once we decided we should do that, as well as the field house out there with the restrooms. And in spite of all that, with the contingencies and with value engineering, we came in below budget for that 63 million.
Yep.
So, I mean, the same philosophy is holding with this project here, even though the number is a lot bigger.
What's going to happen with the Howard?
Unsure at this time. There are probably some different options. It would remain town-owned, so it could be used by the town. It eventually could transition to Spring Street, pre-K and district offices over there, or it could be rented. There are collaborative space. There are 24 collaboratives in the state of Massachusetts. They're always looking for educational spaces. For them, it may be a very attractive site with 15 classrooms, which would be a asset to the town and bring in revenue to the town. Could be agreement through the school committee and the town where they pay a rental fee and they maintain the building at the same time. But again, nothing is set now, but I see it more as an asset than a deficit.
How has communication been with this? Because granted, I don't have any kids in the school anymore, but I haven't heard much about this.
So, good question. So we have posted, a lot of stuff on through emails to parents, which that wouldn't get you now. But we also post things on our Facebook page, so that is hopefully readily available. We are offering these nights. I've posted also on the Facebook page, and I hope it's gotten to other town sites, every Wednesday morning from 8 to 8:30, virtual and in-person meetings in my office for anyone who has any questions or concerns. So if there are other avenues to get it out there, we absolutely encourage them because we want people to be informed on it.
I just think that all the residents should be notified, not just the school parents.
And as for the Howard School, if you could rent it out and do whatever you make an asset out of it, would we have to renovate it? Would that cost taxpayers more money to renovate it before we did that? Or would that be something that would be part of, somebody who wants to rent it or do whatever, we have to do something for it? It's got to be renovated, right? According to my understanding, it's an
It
old
depends
school.
on, I guess it would depend on the renter, what they
Or
wanted
just
to
even
use.
if we had to use it for the pre-K, would we have to renovate it?
That would have to be renovated, just because in the pre-K classrooms, we would want to put bathrooms in there. But that's one of the advantages of having pre-K move down to the kindergarten classrooms. Right now, in our pre-K program, we have 3 preschool classrooms, which are spaced around one wing of the school with offices around them. They have to go out of their classrooms to use the bathrooms. When they move down to the kindergarten classrooms, we have 4 classrooms, all with bathrooms, and a 5th classroom that could be a special education and a related services room.
So that would cost the town more money.
That wouldn't cost the minimum money to remain in the Spring Street School. Potentially down the road, if they were to move to Howard, it would be some renovations.
And then if we rented it out to make money off of it, the septic system there has got to be close to 30 years old, if not. That's going to have to be looked at probably within the next 5 years or so. That's going to be some money that we're going to have to start spending on that, too.
If it's a
So-
collaborative program, they're going to have a lot fewer students involved, and
But
I
I'm
think
just
it would
saying, just
fit
to
within
rent it
the.
out, or something's going to have to be looked at it within the next 5 years, I'm assuming.
And I would
Because it's got
assume
to be
that's a-
30 years old anyways, right?
I'm not sure of the date, but I know that'd be more of a town project because of other
Yeah, so
municipal
that's going to be more
buildings.
money for the taxpayers on top of this, for that. when we could all just make one big school and do the treatment plant and get it all done with and don't have to worry about it. I spend a little bit more money now instead of spending a lot more money later on.
But again, the issue with the treatment plant is where do you put it? You can't put it on that site, so,
Well, you could take down the Howard School, right? And configure everything with a new school, because you could probably build a new school right next to the Howard School, get it all done almost,
But
and then
that's-
put the kids, everybody in it, knock down the Howard School, and work around that area right there.
but that's what we looked at. And if we did a pre-K to 6 at the Howard School
And
site,
the-
somewhere
and
on
the-
the site.
And the administration added to that.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you did the
Because right now,
total
we're gonna have to
thing,
look 5 years probably down the road
You-
about the pre-K and the administration if we don't, if we rent out that
I
Howard
mean,
School.
we
That'd
were,
be another building we're gonna have to look at for another piece of property we're gonna have to spend taxpaying money. to
the town
spend
is
on.
going to have an issue with, as you alluded to, the town's going to have an issue with the municipal system at some point. But, trying to do this project, being on the queue with MSBA and trying to solve the problem of a municipal system with a wastewater treatment plant was just way beyond the scope of what we were dealing with. But
But that wasn't even thought of in the beginning. I mean, why not take care of the whole project and everything right now, get it done with, and then, like I
Well,
said,
that's
spend a
why
little
we
bit money
started,
more
we
now
started
and
the
have to-
discussion at Howard to begin with, but
But you
but
guys
the
already made
issue,
your,
but the
school
issue was.
committee already made their spot,
The-
and that's their decision.
The issue was that tearing down Howard School and building a new Howard School with everything that's on that site, even eliminating the fields, we did not have room for a wastewater treatment
Well,
plant
the-
on that site.
Then if you did if you did put it there, you got 2 ways in, 2 ways out. You wouldn't have to worry about this 1 way in, 1 way out here. And,
You can't fit a wastewater treatment plant on the site.
okay.
That's the issue.
If that's what you say, all right.
Anything else? Any other questions? Well, again, we've kept you over time, but we appreciate the interest. We appreciate the questions. Please keep in touch through our website. Everything will be posted. If you have questions, there's an email link on that website that we will get back to you if you do have questions. And we appreciate the support. There is a handout that's available with some FAQs. Hopefully, we've covered most of those, but there may be some others that we didn't talk about tonight. You grab those on the way out. And again, we thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you.